Up 192 units over the past 365 days, Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit sit at number 1 and number 2 in NBA profit combined. Sitting at number 1 is Ralph Michaels at 107 units, and right behind him in number 2 is Akeem Profit picking up 86 units. For a limited time, you can get 7 days of NBA picks from both Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit for only $69, coming out to less than $10 per day or less than $5 per day per handicapper. This special discounted price includes all NBA client releases over the next 7 days, including any rare 5% NBA best bets generally priced at $35. You don't want to miss out on this 2-for-1 from our number 2 and 1.
Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I'm Carmine Bianco, and this is Stoppage Time. This is the Thursday EPL edition. We are going to look at 3 games that are on this weekend's card. We're going to look at Newcastle and Chelsea, Wolverhampton and Arsenal, and a Sunday fixture as Man United travel to take on Fulham. With me from WagerTalk.com, it's Kevin Dolan and Nick Borrman, and from Sports Memo, Pavlos, Laguretos. Kev, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to bring you in. The red cards were flying in your 5% play yesterday in Spain. And a good thing, normally when these red cards come out, it is against us, but this one was good for you. 2 red cards to Sevilla, put them down to 9 men, 10 or 11 versus 9, and put you in a great position to win your bet yesterday, and a big 5% winner. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks very much, Carmine. Nice 5% winner. Obviously, moves us to 14-4. Our last 18 La Liga best bets, 21-8 on a bit of a longer streak as well. So the crown still fits, still the king of Spain. But lost a few of the other smaller players over in Europe. I think Nick knows what I'm talking about. I got cloned as well over in Germany. Roma couldn't get it done either. But no complaints overall. And looking forward to talking about what'll be the last weekend in domestic action for a few weeks.
Yeah, it is the last week of domestic action as the World Cup is coming. And on next Tuesday's show, we are going to do a World Cup preview. I already have one up on WagerTalk TV with Kelly Stewart, but we are going to do a Stoppage Time World Cup show. I want to hear what the boys have to say. I'm pretty sure neither one of them is going to pick the Italians to win the World Cup, although we won't lose a game. I can guarantee you that much. Nick Borrman, I hope you're feeling a ton better than you were on Tuesday.
I am feeling much better. Yes, thank you. It was a rough, it was about a 24-hour bug, but yeah, it got through me. It was bad. But I did go through I warned about it on Tuesday's show that there might be a colonoscopy going on, and I did get that, as Kevin mentioned, as colon was my best bet on Tuesday. I took a 1-0 lead. I thought we were sitting pretty, and then Leverkusen struck twice really quickly in the second half, and that was over. But Premier League has been my second best league this season, so I'm excited to talk about that this weekend behind only the Champions League. So I guess I got to thank you guys. It must be the extra time and effort, breaking down these games and going into making notes for every show that has me digging deeper than I've ever dug in these leagues, and I'm certainly doing good in both of them. So I'm excited to talk Premier League action one more weekend. I just kind of upset. I'm excited for the World Cup. I can't lie, but kind of upset that the domestic leagues are going to take what's going to feel like forever off. So just as we're starting to get a group going, but it is what it is, and we'll figure it out as we go along. But one more weekend in Premier League to try to cash some.
Way to go. And speaking of digging, this guy cannot walk into any bar in Greece without the girls just digging him. Pavlos, Laguretos, what's going on?
Really nice, Carmine. After a rough Thursday and Friday, I believe, both in terms of betting and in personal life, with a lot of drinking involved, I did a really good run with 8-3 in the NHL and the soccer from Sunday up until yesterday. I really love some of these midweek features. I have some plays loaded at my page. Go over and check it out. And I'm super excited to talk about the last and very tricky, I should say, match day of the EPL heading to the World Cup.
And tricky it is. So we are going to get right to it. We're going to jump right into a Saturday fixture. It is Newcastle and Chelsea. Let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Newcastle plus 132 at home. The draw is plus 244. Chelsea plus 209. Nick, I'm going to make this easy. There was a bunch of midweek games, EFL. Typically, you're worried about teams after a short week, but it shows you the. I think I'm going to use the lack of importance. I don't want to disparage the EFL Cup, but I don't think a lot of the top teams take this seriously. You could look at the Arsenal lineup. You could look at the Man City lineup, although decent because of their big bench, and even the Chelsea lineup. A lot of these teams didn't feature a majority of their top players in that one. So I'm not worried about this weekend as far as player recovery. I'm going to take Chelsea here. I'm taking the shocker here. I'm taking Graham Potter's team to go to Newcastle and get a win. Last two seasons, they are 4-0 against this Newcastle team. A different Newcastle team this year, but this one just smells of an upset for me. And the upset is Chelsea at plus 209. So I'm taking Chelsea here. Nick, tell us what you got.
I don't disagree at all, Carm. I mean, I don't think it's an upset. I think Chelsea is a good play here. You have to look back at the beginning of the season. If these teams play on week one, match day one, what are we looking at? Chelsea laying a quarter of a goal or maybe even a half a goal, in this spot. It's a lot has certainly changed in the 13, 14 weeks that are games that these teams have played so far this season. And you can't take anything away from what Newcastle have done. I mean, if we look at their numbers, they rank top 6 in every major category: expected goals allowed, shots for, shots on target, shots allowed, blah, 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 blah. So it's no wonder they sit third in the table. They only have one loss in the year, came against Liverpool. They own a very strong plus 17 goal differential. They scored the third most goals in the league, allowed the joint fewest. At home, they've yet to lose a match, 4 wins, 3 draws. I mean, it's nothing but good things to say about Newcastle. The concern I have, and I'll take a page out of our buddy Kevin Dolan's book here, is at what point do we start losing value? And really, a better way to put it, at what point did we miss our chance to beat the odds makers on a certain team? I think this has now gotten to that point. I mean, as I mentioned, if this is the beginning of the season and we're not seeing anything like this number, and to be able to get Chelsea now catching goals at Newcastle, I can't imagine saying that anytime in the last few years. And again, it's not taking away anything that Newcastle's done, and Chelsea certainly have had their issues, but at some point we're starting to lose that value, and I think that might be happening. If you look at the against the spread records this year, Newcastle is 11-2-1. Again, that those numbers are going to adjust, and that's going to start to come back. Chelsea 4-8-1, and again, I think that's what we're seeing right now. 2-1 on our money on Chelsea is too good to pass up. I agree, Carm. I'll play it safer, and I'll just suggest taking the head start on getting a quarter of a goal. That way, at least if it draws, we're still cashing half our wager. But I don't mind putting a little money on the 2-1 number as well. So I agree by Chelsea here. As I say that, I also wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and lose this thing by 3 goals. But I think the value is on the Blues in this one.
All right, Nick Borrman at WagerTalk.com. Pavlos, I get Nick's point, taking the goal. I'm looking for a bigger slice of the pie, and sometimes, like recency bias or lack of, you look at Chelsea's record and you think they've lost 3 of their last 4. But again, an EFL Cup game against Man City at the Etihad, where neither team really fielded their best squad. The weekend prior to that, or last weekend, they lose to Arsenal, but this is an Arsenal team that seemed to be beating everyone other than Man United. And then a loss at Brighton a week back of that. And that was one of those games where it was an emotionally charged game. Graham Potter coming back to the team that he left to go and manage Chelsea. So I can make excuses, but I just think this price is way too high on Chelsea. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that price is way too high for Chelsea. Might be a trap, but if I had to pick a winner here or a side, I'd definitely go with Chelsea, even if Newcastle won. I mean, there's clear value in backing Chelsea here. However, this is a very strange match, Newcastle being the favorites at home, and I just don't like it, even if they end up winning. Yes, Chelsea have a lot of problems right now, but those prices on Chelsea are quite tasty, and I was actually tempted to pick some kind of side bet for Chelsea. However, they do have a lot of international players who are getting ready for the World Cup, and this is the final match before the break. So I expect players to be very, very careful in this match, and actually in every other match that involves players who are going to go to the World Cup in 10 days. And I'm leaning towards the under here. Under 2.5 goals is at -105. I like it here more than any kind of side bet. 5 of the last 6 matches between the two sides had under 2.5 goals. And again, this particular match is just 10 days away from the World Cup. So I keep, saying that, but that's the truth. Nobody is going to go into harm's way for a league match. So I expect a quiet match between the two sides. I like the under 2.5 goals. Don't care who wins.
Don't care who wins. And the final word on the Chelsea Newcastle fixture on Saturday will go to the King of Spain, Kevin Dolan.
I couldn't help but kind of laugh to myself, Carmine, when you started off with, I'm gonna pick the plucky underdog here. I'm gonna go with the shocker, Chelsea. Because just that sentence alone shows you how much of a dumpster fire this team have been of late. When Chelsea, or I'm gonna pick a surprise team, Chelsea. 18 months back, whatever it was, they win the Champions League. This version of Chelsea I've seen better Sunday league stuff. Look, I got sucked in a few weeks ago with Brighton. I thought that line was similar to this one. Obviously, there's a quarter goal difference, but I thought, look, getting Chelsea off pick, that's a fantastic value. They get run over 4-1. Because in that game, I ignored the stats. Brighton, clearly the better team. But I thought Chelsea might step up to the plate, and they didn't. So I've been burned once. I'm not going to put my hand back on the fire on Chelsea in this one. I'll take Newcastle. Obviously, look, if you're into long-term trends, Chelsea won 7 of the last 8 head-to-heads against Newcastle across any venue. But Nick mentioned some of Newcastle's figures this year. They've been a freight train under Eddie Howe. Only Arsenal, Manchester City, obviously the top 2 teams in the league, have better overall home records than Newcastle. They haven't lost a game at home since April. Their only loss this season was that 98th minute, ridiculous goal Liverpool managed to score against them back in September. But, at the end of the day, as I said, when I was reviewing the Brighton game a few weeks ago, looking at this one, if you just took the crests of either shirt, made them all wear white shorts, and you presented the data sheets, you'd think it was Man City playing Forest Green Rovers. No disrespect to Forest Green fans out there. I want no beef with your ultras, but, show me these types of data sheets on paper. I can only look one way. And if this was any other 2 different team names, bar Newcastle, Chelsea, you'd be all over Newcastle with these figures. So, look, Chelsea have the talent definitely to step up, but until I see it, Newcastle for me -1/4 at even money.
All right, Kevin Dolan, and for you Forest Green people looking for him, you can find him at kdolan@gmail.uk. All right, we are going to get into the second game. Actually, the recap. Let's look at the recap. I always forget this. I apologize. The recap of today's picks in the first game. I am on Chelsea +206. Nick's on taking Chelsea +1/4 goal. Pavlos on the under 2.5. And Kevin going against Nick. So they are going mano a mano, and he's taking Newcastle -1/4 goal. All right, let's get into the second game, guys. This is the one I'm looking forward to because the discussion, because it is our favorite team to talk about, Jenga. Arsenal. It is Wolverhampton and Arsenal. The numbers here: Wolverhampton +503 at home. The draw is +326. Arsenal -182. Those are the openers. Kev, I'm going to go back to you on this one. I'm going to take Arsenal. I'm just going to make it quite simple. I'm going to take Arsenal until I may be falling for that trap that I waited too long to take them. I have taken them at some times during this year. They're playing extremely well. The EFL Cup just shows you that they were not interested in that competition. They are looking at the bigger picture here, which is this league title. Guys who did not play or did not start in that game. Saka wasn't even on the bench. Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard, Partey, Ben White, Xhaka, Zinchenko. None of those guys featured, came in late in the second half to get them a little bit of time on that field. They're looking for this weekend's game and to stay atop the Premier League. So Arsenal for me, -182. It's a bigger price. You could probably lay the 3/4 of a goal if you can find it, but that's where I'm going here. Kev?
Old habits have probably cost me a little bit to start the season, Carmine. I'm a bit of a stubborn old dog when it comes to this. I've been kind of sitting out. There's a couple of teams this season that obviously if I had I was following the data, but I wasn't trusting the data 100%, if you know what I mean. There's a couple of teams obviously like Arsenal, like Napoli, that you'd be living in the penthouse if you backed them every week from the start of the season. But you're waiting for that inevitable collapse with the Jenga. It hasn't come. And this Arsenal team, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they really do look like the goods. But even saying that, running the numbers here, I don't see an awful lot of value at the current line, -1 on the handicap. I made this one right around the number myself, but, there's definitely a small part of me as well that it wants to wait until every handicapper on the planet has this Arsenal game locked in as a 5% max bet game of the week this week. And then I'm going to come in last minute, 2 minutes before game time, stick a little 1% play on Arsenal and watch it all come tumbling down as Wolves. It'll be like that. You've seen that meme where the little girl standing across the street and the house is burning and she's smiling. That'll be me like this weekend. But I'm going to pivot here instead. I'm going to take a look at the total. Arsenal's recent XGA numbers on defence have been absolutely fantastic. They're ranked number 1 in the league since October 8th. They face a Wolves team here that, while they have scored in 4 of the last 5 games overall, they're coming in well under the league average in terms of chances created over the last month. So I think this total's a quarter goal too high personally. I think Arsenal to kind of win this game 2-0. That's the most likely here. I think the books have it the most likely as well. Wolves could ruin the party. They've done it before, maybe 1-1 type of result. But either way, I don't see 3 goals in this game. I think it'll be fairly cagey. So, under 2.75 from me. I think that's a fair play here.
All right. Arsenal 1-0 satisfies us both. Even 2-0 works for us. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you next on this one. Can you make any case for the home dog here?
Not really, because actually I can, because they recently hired Lopetegui from Sevilla, and that's probably I'm not entirely sure how that's gonna pan out for them. However, I'm not going anywhere near the sides. I totally agree with Kevin's case for the under. I like the under 2.75 goals here as well. 0, 1 or 2 goals give us a full win. 3 goals is a half win, and we only lose with 4 goals or more in this match. Now, just one of the last 13 matches between the two sides had 4 goals or more. 4 of those 13 matches had exactly 3 goals, which is good enough for a half win. And 8 of the last 13 matches between the two sides had 2 goals or fewer. So this might actually be a good case to pick the 2 or 3 goals prop. But I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal won by a slim 1-0. So Wolves have one of the league's lowest goal averages with just 2.1 goals per match and 2.3 goals per home match. Arsenal might have one of the highest goal averages in the league, but that's mostly due to their home performances. On the road, they have a mere 2.3 goals per match. Now, Wolves missing a ton of players and several of their forwards, where Arsenal have been really excellent on the defense on the road, keeping 5 clean sheets in 7 away matches in the EPL. So sign me up for the under 2.75 goals here at -115.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo. Nick, you get the last word on this one.
No arguments on anybody for me here. I totally could agree with the under. I mean, Wolves have been just inept offensively, to say the least. 0.85 expected goals per match, ranks 19th in the league. They've generated less than 1 expected goal, more than 1 expected goal, just 5 matches this season. Their 8 goals scored ranks dead last. And that's just not something to be excited about as Arsenal comes to town. And if we look at the numbers, obviously Arsenal are right there behind Man City. Basically, every time you see a 2 next to their name, Man City is the team ahead of them. Liverpool on the offensive shot volume is ahead of them as well. But other than that, Arsenal are clearly the better team in this game. But I'll argue against my last point I made in the Newcastle-Chelsea game, is that we definitely have, I believe we've missed the value on Newcastle to this point in the season. Well, the value on Arsenal is long gone. There's no denying that. Arsenal has quickly become a public team. Anytime you get a team that just starts to win and win and win, public jumps all over them. And Arsenal's going to be overvalued from here on out until they start to lose or show a big-time losing streak, and I don't think that's coming. And we've all joked about the Arsenal slide, when's it coming, but it just hasn't happened. And quite the opposite, in fact. They continue to show up and step up in the biggest matches that they need to. Granted, you wouldn't consider Wolves a big match, but I look at it a little differently. It's the last match before the World Cup break. Carm, you mentioned it. They want to stay on top of this Premier League and sit there for the next 5 weeks as the team on top. So I think it is a big match for them, and I see them focused in this spot. On the year, Arsenal 8-4 against the spread, 8-4-1. Wolverhampton 4-9-1. Again, the value is definitely gone here, but I am not going to get in front of this freight train right now. I'll lay the goal with Arsenal. You can go ahead and take the three-way money line, as Carr mentioned as well. Higher price, obviously, at minus 182 or 85, whatever you can get. But either way, I think at -1, we're looking at a worst-case push here if it's a 1-0, 2-1 maybe. But I do agree that Wolves are probably not going to be on the board here, so I like laying the goal.
All right, there you have it, guys. Our thoughts on Arsenal and Wolverhampton. Let's look at the recap up on the screen. I'm on Arsenal. I'm just taking the full money line on them, not sweating the goals. Nick says he's fine with sweating the goals. Let's take Arsenal -1. Mm-hmm. And it's a couple unders, Pavlos and Kevin, sharing some pints together in Europe and cheering for no goals in this game, or actually a 2-0 Arsenal win makes us all happy. I think you guys are good with that. It gets us all of the bread. All right, guys, before we head into the Sunday fixture between Man United and Fulham, I want to mention the show promo, and this is an important one with the World Cup literally 10 days away. It is the buy one, get one feature. This is the last week for this promo. If you head over to WagerTalk.com and Sports Memo and click on one of the cappers pages that are on this show, you can get 2 months of soccer for the price of one. That is a great deal, of course, with the World Cup, with domestic league play. And then it's obviously going to take you into January as well, too, as the domestic leagues return. And then Champions League is right around the corner. But it is a great deal, $199 for 2 months of soccer. Head over to WagerTalk.com or Sports Memo to take advantage of that promo. All right, boys, Man United. We can't stop talking about this team for some reason, but this is probably the best game on the Sunday card in the Premier League. So let's have a look at the numbers on this one. Fulham is plus 295 at home. The draw is plus 291. Man United minus 115 here. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I'm going to make it short and quick. It is another one of those ones where you might call it a tricky fixture. Fulham seems to be playing well, but this is one where they may want to try and pick up a point. I think United are in a position where they might want to pick up a result. I don't see a lot of goals in this one. I'm going under 3. I don't think we see 4 goals in this game, so under 3 is a play for me.
Yeah, the other 3 actually looks really nice, especially with Keeman Mitrovic out of this contention. He has a couple of broken bones in his foot. He's going to miss at least the first game of the World Cup against Brazil. And even though they do have some quality up front, nothing can match the quality of Mitrovic. So, however, when I looked at this match, it was really confusing to pick either a side or a total. So I went a different way. I'm going to take both teams to get 2 cards each, 2 or more cards each at minus 110. So this is a prop that essentially wins if the 2 teams get a couple of cards each. And when you look at the stats, Fulham have been awarded the most cards in the EPL so far with 36 cards in 14 matches, an average of 2.57 cards per match. Manchester United also the most cards in the EPL with 36 in 1 fewer match, in 13 matches. So they have an average of 2.77 cards per match. Fulham have been awarded at least a couple of cards in 12 of their 14 matches, regardless of venue, and in 6 of 7 home matches so far. Manchester United have been awarded at least a couple of cards in 10 of 13 EPL matches and in 6 of 7 away matches in the EPL. So the referee, because you always have to look at the referee, has an average of 4.18 cards per match this season, and last season his average was a little over 4.07. So I'm going to take both teams to get 2+ cards each at minus 110. Don't care who wins. I just want the bloodbath.
He just wants a bloodbath. What a way to end the last weekend of domestic league football with a bloodbath. But if it is a bloodbath, you would be looking at the Red Devils, I think, here. So, Nick, give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, I'll start off by saying I've struggled to get a good read on United all season, and I have avoided wagering on most of their matches. I finally decided to back them last weekend and got rewarded with a 1-3 loss at Aston Villa, so full disclosure on United. However, Fulham, they've been a much easier read this year, and that is simply goals. And I know, Mitrovic is out, but they have the highest both teams to score record in the league, 11-3. They also own a 10-4 over-under record, and 12 of their 14 matches have reached at least 3 goals. Their defense is terrible, right? That's the key here. They allow 2.13 expected goals per game, most in the league. So their only option is to push for goals, which they rank actually a respectable number 10 in the league and on a 1.39 expected goal average. So defensively, absolutely atrocious. Offensively, middle of the pack, and it's again because they have to. They can't count on their defense to do anything, so they got to go for that for goals. Fulham have only been held off the score sheet twice this season. Came against Wolves and Everton, both in 0-0 draws. Otherwise, they've scored in every other match, including Man City, Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, and our new league sweethearts, Newcastle's. Manchester United, they've kept 5 clean sheets on the year, only 2 on the road, though, and none in their last 4, including conceding to both Everton and Aston Villa, as I just mentioned. Fulham, they just play a style of game that's just likely to present opportunities both ways. And, if United especially kind of get a comfortable lead here, which I think they will, I don't see them really doing their best effort defensively. I think they'll just kind of have fun with this last game if it kind of gets to that point, and then that could open us up for an even better chance for Fulham to score. So, Carmen, you mentioned taking under 3. I like the over. I don't like it at 3. So I'm going to combine the markets of both teams to score and over 2.5. So I essentially buy down the total to get to over 2.5. I think if it's going to go over, it's only probably going to happen if both teams get on the board. So I like the combo play of both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, which is priced fairly at minus 110. So that's how I look at this one.
All right, Kev, we are going to give you the last word on this one. Nick had mentioned last week it was Man United and Aston Villa, and they're actually playing today on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time in the EPL Cup. So we don't know who's even going to feature in that one, but Sancho and Anthony are both, I think, not available for this one. Anthony is injured. Sancho has an illness, so we'll see what kind of a lineup they put out. But does a Thursday fixture influence what you're going to do on Sunday with this United team?
Probably not all that much, Carmine, but again, this is my weakest selection of the 3 games we've covered so far in today's show. But saying that, Fulham's data actually stacks up pretty decently against Manchester United in this spot. Nick talked about some of their numbers. They have the better overall XG. Fulham, that is, based on home road form split this season. In fact, Fulham actually ranked top 6 in the league at home this year on overall chances created. So, as Nick mentioned, they're definitely getting it done on the offensive end this year. But, as he also mentioned, their defense is incredibly suspect. They rank dead last in the league on overall defensive XG at home this season. They rank bottom half in that same category since mid-October as well. I like to stick in a bit of recency bias there too. So, we've got a team in Fulham on one side who have been, red hot offensively, top 6 in the league in overall XG, but, extremely brittle defensively, facing a team in United who have been fairly average this year, in both of those categories, bottom half in the league and overall offensive XG away from home this season. And they have been a lot better defensively, I will say, especially over the last month. So that plays into your under. But even so, this is a tricky one to call for me, especially with that international break coming up, the midweek cup games as well. So, as I really don't know who's going to win this game, or cover this game, I should say, I'll take a punt with Fulham gun to head at a plus half goal minus 105 here, but it will not be making my card for Sunday.
All right, there you have it, Kevin Dolan with the final thoughts on Fulham and Man United. Let's have a look at the recap for this one. I am on the under 3 here. Nick is on both teams to score and over 2.5. Nick and I kind of going mano a mano. Pavlos, both teams to score, plus each team picking up yellow cards. And Kev is on Fulham plus half a goal. Guys, we're going to get into our best bet segment of the show. And I want to remind you, next Tuesday, we will be doing a World Cup preview show. It'll be the Stoppage Time World Cup preview show. We're going to talk about not so much the opening games, but we are going to talk about who we think are good future bets, betting favorites. We'll look at a couple of dark horses as well too. Each guy will give their opinions on the tournament and how we think it's going to unfold. So make sure you tune in next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Stoppage Time, the World Cup preview. All right, guys, our best bet segment of the show, and we'll kick it off with Nick. Nick, you're going to Germany. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Bundesliga for best bet this weekend, and that's taking the hottest team in the Bundesliga, Leipzig, on the road here at Werder Bremen. Leipzig, slow start to the season, easily, like I said, the hottest team now, unbeaten in 12 straight matches, 10 wins, 2 draws between the Bundesliga and the Champions League. Their record on the road has not been good, with just 1 win this season, but they have played much better in their last 3, even though they have just 1 win to show for it, averaging 1.84 expected goals and allowing just 1.24. Werder Bremen have a tough two-game stretch. They got spanked 1-6 against Bayern on Tuesday, and they now face Leipzig. Werder do have 3 home wins this year and 6 total on the season, which is pretty solid, but almost all of those have come against the bottom of the table teams, with the exception being Dortmund in the game that you guys I'm sure remember, where they scored 3 goals after the 89th minute to win. And there's no way Leipzig's defense, if they're in that position, would ever allow that to happen. Leipzig rank number 2 or number 3 in every major category in the league. Even though they're not up there yet in the table, and I think it's going to be coming there. As you can see now, the ascent is on the way. So I like Leipzig getting a decent price here on the road at Werder Bremen. They've won each of the last 4 league meetings versus Bremen. I think they'll go 5 in a row on Saturday.
All right, best of luck there, Nick. And now, Pavlos, you're going to take us over to England and an EPL best bet. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, I'm 1-10-5 in my last 15 plays in all sports. 4-0 run in NHL. Yes, of course. I have a soccer 2-pack for tonight, an NHL play for the day for tonight, and 4% best bets for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Now, my best bet is Bournemouth versus Everton match. I'm going to side with Bournemouth on the pick'em line at even money. The two teams met a couple of days ago in the Cup, where Bournemouth blasted Everton by 4-1 at home. And these two will meet again in the same venue. So I like Bournemouth on the pick'em line here. They used mainly reserves in that midweek cup match, and they just 3 or 4 starters, and most of them were defenders. Now, Everton used a lot of starters in that match, and they were seriously exposed by Bournemouth's bench. Now, Bournemouth have historically been quite good as hosts against Everton. They've lost just 1 of the last 7 at home with 4 wins, 1 loss and 2 draws. So I like Bournemouth on the pick'em line at even money. I think that's a sure winner.
All right, best of luck, Pavlos. Kev, over to you, and you are staying in England as well. Tell us what you got.
So Pavlos finally does care who wins. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Yeah, we have a Saturday soccer double pack up already. That's loaded up with WagerTalk. We've got a 4% NHL best bet loaded up for tonight as well. Yeah, so head on over to WagerTalk for those. In terms of a best bet, yes, we're still in the EPL, and I'm taking the Aston Villa Brighton game over 2.5 here on Sunday. Both teams are averaging far higher chances created that over the last month than the league average. Villa also ranks second last in the league on defensive XGA over that time frame as well, ahead of only Chelsea, but thankfully I don't need to talk about them anymore. So I see goals in this one. Brighton's numbers have been solid defensively on the season as a whole, but they're really starting to open it up now under De Zerbi, and I think Aston Villa, kind of responding kind here, put up 3 goals against Manchester United at the weekend. So I think that carries on here. I think we see goals in this one. So, over 2.5 goals for me between Aston Villa, Brighton on Sunday, -110 best bet.
Best of luck to you, Kev. And I am going to stay in England for mine. 3 plays up in soccer today on Thursday. 4 plays up in NHL tonight as we look to keep our streak on the ice going well. And then obviously the NFL Thursday night primetime game. So pick up a 1-day all access if you're watching this, as you'll get all of those plays all in one package. I'm going to go back to I'm going to stick with the EPL as well too. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Man City to win and over 3.5 goals. Excuse me. 7 games at home in Premier League this year for this team. The first 6 easily won on this prop, Man City, and over 3.5. You can take it again. The only one that didn't hit was their last home game, in which they picked up a Cancelo, a 26th-minute red card after they were up 1-0. They still won that game 2-1, but that would have been a much different game. So 6-1 with this prop at home. We're going to go for 7-1, Man City, and over 3.5 as your show best bet. Guys, let's have a look at the recap of our best bets up on the screen. City win over 3.5 for me at even money. Nick with Leipzig -120. Pavlos with Bournemouth PK. Pick'em, he cares who wins this one. And of course, Kevin Dolan, Aston Villa Brighton over 2.5 goals. Guys, A reminder, we'll be back on Tuesday, 10 a.m. for the World Cup preview show. Again, we wish you the best of luck. For myself, Nick Borrman, Kevin Dolan, and Pavlos Laguretos, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck with your wagers.
Up 192 units over the past 365 days, Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit to that number 1 and number 2 in NBA profit combined. Sitting in number 1 is Ralph Michaels at 107 units, and right behind him in number 2 is Akeem Profit picking up 86 units. For a limited time, you can get 7 days of NBA picks from both Ralph Michaels and Akeem Profit for only $69, coming out to less than $10 per day or less than $5 per day per handicapper. This special discounted price includes all NBA client releases over the next 7 days, including any rare 5% NBA best bets generally priced at $35. You don't want to miss out on this 2-for-1 from our number 2 and 1.